So Ty, we've got Christopher, Justin, and then Larry in the game here. Um, and then once we actually get into things, they can introduce themselves in character as well. But we lost Dave this last week. Essentially, without getting into too much of his own details, basically just random COVID stuff has had him cut out his kind of free time activities. So hopefully things will improve and he'll be able to return to pleasure activities. And I'm sure he'll come back, but otherwise at present it will be the four of us here. A little bit of housekeeping to keep in mind is I believe one of us can only show up Sundays bi-weekly, so we can always think about whether we want to continue on as a three-person group or if we just want to always meet bi-weekly. This one in particular, we delayed this one specifically because entering into Phandalin is where you meet a lot of the NPCs and it's just a lot of information the first time that you get to the actual frontier town of Phandalin. To have anybody missing can be detrimental to the future, basically. But other than that, oh yeah, you're golden. Other than those little bits to kind of like back of the mind think about across this session and then even potentially next week, we can hop right into a little bit of a recap here. Essentially, our party has just made the trip from Neverwinter, and it was about, I think you all took about 3 or 4 days traveling along the King's Road, heading south through the Sword Coast, along the actual coast, diverting to the east as you cross the Tribor Road, and heading towards the little frontier town of Phandalin. Everything was pretty uneventful. You had a few encounters with, I think it was, Edrin who speaks Kobold, or identified that it was kobolds who were sort of following you / intrigued by your camps through the nights. And we had, oh man, I've already forgotten the name of Dave's character. Bowden kind of had a moment with one of the kobolds where you all set up a little bit of a trap to kind of gather them into a rather protected location, and he had a little bit of a conversation. You all were given a bit of a heads up that the goblins in the area were a little bit more active and were able to take your next morning or afternoon kind of slow enough that you were able to approach and not be ambushed, as there was a little bit of a trap set up around the road. You all were able to identify it, fight off, I think you killed 2 or 3 of the goblins and 1 or 2 got away, and that's about where we're going to pick up. But you are basically around early afternoon, and within a short travel distance of the town of Phandalin, you've already basically diverted off of the Tribor Road and are heading towards the actual frontier location itself. Though it's not within sight or anything, you're kind of at that point where you all can choose to try to track the goblins. I want to say it was actually Dave who said that was his plan. But essentially that's kind of where you guys are, is you've just fought off these little bits of goblins who have set this ambush. You are on the road, and for simplicity's sake, so we don't actually hold Ty out of the game itself, we're basically going to have him show up as a traveler along the road, so you all can kind of meet each other at the end of this little battle, him kind of coming up from the north as you all are traveling south along the road, and he can kind of join up with you all as you essentially see a traveler. And if you want to describe yourself, Ty, we can have everybody meet Tyrell, and then everybody kind of describe what Tyrell sees as well, But it is essentially at that point where you all are meeting as you clean up the last bits of goblins along the road and kind of look over. I don't even believe you took any time to search the bodies themselves, so you are essentially at that point where you can kind of either search and or just move along tracking. Yeah, I'm looking at the map here. It looks like one was killed and then two of them got away. You can do an investigation check for me. As far as your meeting goes with them, Ty, you would basically just be kind of walking along the road that you know heads to the town of Phandalin. Yeah, you're going to basically find just a lot of gooey trash on him. There's little trinket pieces of wood that seem to almost be carved into idols, but you can't really make out what. The fact that you just rolled 2 1s in a row is absurd. Yeah, one of the guys in my Curse of Strahd game, he rolled 5 1s in a row, rolled an attack, like it was 5, I think it was like 3 stealth checks he rolled a 1, and then he rolled 2 perception checks that he rolled a 1, rolled an attack and got like an 11, and then rolled another stealth check and got a 1. So he essentially hit 6 1s out of 7 rolls. 5 of them were in a row, and it was something like 1 in 32,000 chances. But yeah, essentially what you're going to end up finding on him is nothing really of value, nothing that really stands out. Their gear itself is all very worn and used, so while you find things like his short bow seems to have... trying to think what kind of weapons you all would have killed him with, but basically his short bow seems to be just a very like discarded piece of trash almost, and it seems like it took damage as he was slain, as if it almost deflected a shot, severing parts of like the actual like core of the bow. His weapon itself is almost like chewed along the blade from long battles. But essentially everything that you find of his just seems to show signs of like ragged use and just well worn, but nothing that really seems valuable to you, and nothing that necessarily stands out besides just the random trinkets that goblins are pretty well known for. Almost anything strikes their eye as interesting is something that they will steal, take, and or keep. But again, so let's see, that was Bront, who is basically hunched over this tiny little body along a dirt road heading north, or heading south into the hills. This is like a slow climbing, just a very small trail. It's large enough that carts clearly do pass by through here. It's not well traveled enough that it's a very established road. There's certainly not like massive ruts in it from a lot of traffic, though you can see signs that probably when there are big rains, things like that do happen. You are starting to climb high enough into these hills that the signs of the mountains that lie to the south of you are evident. There's a lot more stone that is starting to come up through the earth, and you are leaving the plains that all of you have essentially been walking on for a good 3 to 4 days here. And as you all are following this trail, it's starting to wind into switchbacks. So pretty quickly you would end up seeing, as you come around the corner, let me have Bront describe himself for me. And then Yastin, can you describe yourself? And then Edrin, if you can describe yourself. And then I don't think I'm going to just cut out Bowden. We're going to at least have him kind of arrive in town. So I think he is just under 6 feet tall. Let me actually bring up his character sheet. He'd be in, I think he's in like a chainmail armor. Larger guy, about like 300 plus pounds, black hair. You see him, yeah, he's 6'1", so he's a pretty large fellow. And I believe he is showing signs of, he has, I think it's a bloody fist that is like wrapped around with a red ribbon that seems to don on his armor. showing his god. Most anybody with a religious background would pretty quickly recognize that. It would be a symbol that pretty much everybody around the Sword Coast would recognize. But otherwise, he seems to be a armored fellow holding a shield and a mace, and kind of looking over his group here. And with that, as you walk up, can you please describe yourself for us, Tyrell? So as you all move back down the trail, back where you've come from, kind of where you left him with the horse and cart, as you were preparing to scout around this area when you first saw the signs of how shady it was looking, you kind of progress backward, and you don't actually see Gundren there at first, but after a little while you do see a hooded figure who kind of walks off from inside of the trees. He seems to have left the trail, and basically hidden himself in his moment of despair as you all were in battle, basically pulling off of the trail itself and trying to hide into the cover of the trees and the rocks to the north of the trail. And he's basically pulled off, and within a quick few moments you see as a perplexed look seems to cross his eye as he looks over Tyrell, and then after a few moments he kind of Stormborn? Ah. I'm glad my message was able to get to you. We've not met before, but you clearly know one of those who I have employed. I'm glad you were able to come here. I see you've been able to gain some leave for yourself. This bodes well for us all that you are able to join our little band of misfits. Tell me, did you leave the Lord's Alliance on good terms? Or will they be searching for you? Because we may find they have a presence here in Phandalin. But again, if you're a free agent, there's money to be made. Intriguing. That should make for an interesting future for us all. Well, it seems you all have fared well enough with these ambushers who would assault us. Shall we continue to Phandalin? I believe we can still make it before nightfall. Well, it can certainly be up to you all if you do care to chase after them. I believe I would be safe enough to head through to Phandalin myself, but at present I have no intention to follow them for my own sake and for the good of my contacts. I believe Phandalin is the right choice for me and these goods, but again, you all can make the choice for yourselves. Phandalin will be a nice place to sleep at very least. Well, excellent. Excellent. Let's continue on. And he'll start to progress back down the trail. Just because it's been 2 weeks, you all would remember that there is still a trap on the trail, and Gundren would not be aware of it. Oh, what's to be cleared? It looks... What's to be cleared? It looks fine to me. There seems to be open road ahead. Yeah, I feel like it was Yasin and Brant who scouted ahead, And I want to say it was Yasin who would have spotted the pit trap that they basically had laid across, or rather dug into the trail itself. Oh yeah, that's all it really takes, is just moving around it.
Okay. Yeah, in that case, never mind. My memory was just a little off.
So he will start to progress forward along the trail.
So we'll just, in that case, we'll just warn him instead about the to avoid the that pit trap.
Excellent.
Dug.
So essentially, right before he drives the horse into the pit trap, you all actually remind him or warn him to progress around that little spot, and the horse does not break any of its legs. With that, you all have a pretty short trip. It's probably about another hour or so's walk. As you continue up the rocky road, it gets more and more prominent that you are inside of the mountains. Things are still vastly on more levelish ground. It's not extremely steep, but there are more and more switchbacks as you start to continue up, until eventually you kind of come out on a pretty prominent peak, and it would be the first time that you start to see houses along the actual trail. Most of these houses are essentially established stone foundations that kind of go up anywhere from just an actual flagstone foundation that covers the entire house to some of them are built up stone, sometimes 3, sometimes 5 feet tall. But clearly you see, as you spot these different houses, that almost all of them are finished with wood, on some level of wood being placed on top of stone, where there is clear signs that the stone is aged well beyond the evidence that this wood is very fresh cut. And as you continue through, entering from the north, you pass by one little farmstead that's built up over flagstones with very clear and large chunks of wood in that building. Some of the other buildings are much more stone structures with wood roofs. Other structures are still ruins. As you progress through into the main area of town, and Gundren kind of looks towards a building to head the cart towards, you all would cross through a ruined stone wall that, other than just giving the outline of where the northern edge of this town once was, it resembles a wall only in name. It is vastly destroyed. There are massive sections of it that aren't even visible above the grass and the greenery. And then as you progress into the town itself, Gundren would pull the cart to the side and head into a little building, parking the cart and the horse into the back of it, and he would usher you all towards this larger building, about 40 by 60, in the little garage area or the barn area where he's basically taken the cart into, and he kind of ushers you all through what appears to be a back door. Well, welcome to Barthen's Provisions. This will be our first stop here in Phandalin. If you all have anything that you require, we can most certainly get ourselves equipped, and we should be prepared for a good night's sleep shortly here as well. But whatever you all might need from this wonderful town, we will take great pains to be establishing.
Ron's all set. He really just wants to head off to get some rest.
Hey, sorry, just out of character for a moment. Is anyone else getting the audio sort of cutting in and out at all, or is that I'm not sure if that's just my connection or if that's if anyone else is getting that.
Mine sounds really good. I don't know how I sound to you. But...
Yeah, I hear everything perfectly fine from my end here too.
Okay, it must just be on my end then. Okay, wanted to check.
If you want to try to restart Discord and pop back in, that might be all it takes. I'll check to see if there's any server issues right now with Discord, and see about maybe moving the server to a different one to try to get a better connection.
I'll try and log off and log back in real quick. Thanks.
I'll be AFK for just a minute.
Hey, Mar, are you still there?
Yep.
I was gonna ask, is there any way to just add your character sheet from D&D Beyond to Roll20, or do you have to manually add all of that in?
Well, you might not even have access to all of it. Essentially, your character is the D&D Beyond character. All you need on Roll20 is essentially for the character sheet to be, like, for the character to be made, and that ends up being your token. And then you can fill in a little bit of the information for, like, the aura that will show around your character. But otherwise, D&D Beyond and Beyond 20 do all of the rolling and all of the gameplay, and then Roll20 is just for the token and for the battle board. But I don't share any content from Roll20. They don't allow you to print a PDF, and that is a big no-go for me. I save PDFs for characters at the start of a session, and I just think it's absurd to buy all of the books twice and not even be able to have a PDF version of the characters.
Okay, then, cool. All right. I was looking at it, I was like, man, I gotta manually add all this crap in, so that's good, so I don't have to mess with that really at all.
Correct, yeah. There's tiny little perks to having things inside of Roll20, but in the long run, I can't even think offhand like what the main perk is. There's really only, in my opinion, a single main perk to having things in Roll20 versus D&D Beyond allowing you to actually print out your character. That allows you to do anything you want. And again, I run games online as well as pre-apocalypse in person. So having the PDFs is pretty clutch to me.
I
There's gonna be
gotcha.
There's going to be some kind of Beyond D&D Beyond tabletop at some point too, right?
They've talked about it, and adding their own dice was one of the first big steps towards it. That's why they have enabled the dice. But I feel like they've talked about their own tabletop for years at this point, so I'm not really sure what level of it's going to happen. But D&D Beyond, in my opinion, seems like the only one that's necessarily a valid reason to buy everything twice.
I just saw some people on the map called Magnus. And there's,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
other characters, like your old.
Yeah,
Oh,
my bad. I
probably.
definitely was a copied over. I didn't actually pay quite that much attention. This is just a copied over campaign to start with a lot of maps already set up, instead of creating all of them.
Definitely not being critical. They disappeared too after a second.
Yep, as soon as I saw them, I deleted them. But otherwise, you all are basically entering into the back of Barthen's Provisions as you kind of walk through this little building. You don't really see anybody at first. It does appear to be a kind of a wooden storehouse. As you walk through this back area, it's almost in a T shape that you walk. To your left seems to be a bedroom. To the right seems to be another bedroom. And then ahead you see like the back side of a large counter. And you can clearly see a bunch of different living/adventuring gear on shelves ahead of you. And Gundren walks through the actual area. After a moment, he kind of yells out, Elmar? Elmar, are you in? And then moments later, you hear a response from inside as an elderly gentleman kind of turns around the corner with a candle in hand. Oh, hello, Gundren. It's good to see you. And a pleasure to see you as well, my friend. We've freshly arrived from Neverwinter, and we've got everything in tow. That's wonderful news. It's good to see you. Though, well, let's have the boys unload the cart while we sit for a longer talk here. Barthen takes a moment to kind of like snap his fingers, and you see his two small boys kind of round the corner. And as they kind of like stand at attention to Elmar, he kind of calls out to them, gives them that little bit of instruction to head out into the barn to take care of the horse and start to unload all of the goods from the actual cart that you all have brought down here. And as the two of them sit down, you can pretty quickly gain sight that these two have perhaps not like an old friendship, but they certainly have a deep familiarity with each other, and Elmar seems to be troubled. Well, now, let's start with the better news. Here's my gold for the goods you've brought, and I'm sure you'll need to pay your guards here. Did you find yourselves with a safe trip south? Gundren does a quick little kind of breakdown of what has gone down, but kind of leaves it to you all to describe what happened with the kobolds and the goblins, as he was usually away. So Gundren kind of looks around and just leaves it with Elmar that, well, we encountered kobolds along the King's Road, and then there was a apparent ambush of goblins as we headed south into Phandalin itself. But I don't believe there was anything too dangerous happening here. Well, that's good. I'm glad you've made it. Your brothers have... Well, they've not come in to town. You'll probably need to go after them. They're at least 3 days late picking up their goods, so I'm not sure if good things have happened. And he has like a strained laugh, because clearly there's not much good that could happen that they wouldn't come in for food. Clearly they would need their supplies that they've missed out coming for. And a kind of darkness covers over Gundren as he himself starts to contemplate what could be delaying his brothers. And I believe you all are vaguely familiar that he has brothers here, and that they are among those that you would be partnering with. But other than that, I think you've kind of got a vague understanding of his family being around this area. Elmar, taking a few moments to count out coins, passes a sizable bag of coins over to Gundren. Well, I believe we'll have to go after those goblins after all. I think perhaps their audacity might be what has waylaid my brothers. But perhaps there's elsewhere that we could go as well. I think it will be up to you all to decide for us where we go there. Perhaps I could go investigate where my brothers are, but I believe if goblins are coming this close to Phandalin, they've already got a braveness that is inspiring them to devious ends.
They're practically in town. So you guys have a sheriff or any law enforcement around here?
Well, we've got our townmaster Harbin, little coward that he is. We don't have a sheriff. There is this group who's been following this Glassstaff fellow, but they don't much help so much as they take. So no.
Would you pay us more for finding your brothers?
Well, I can give you what I owe you for escorting me and these goods. You can have your fair share. And he'll hand a stack of coins to all of you. For what it's worth, I am going to put inside of the handouts in the party loot list. You guys are getting handed 48 gold. It is essentially 12 gold apiece for helping to deliver everything. As far as things go, I will always put stuff into the party loot list You guys can take things onto your person as you care to, but it's up to you to actually like separate stuff if you would like to, and based on need as much as desire to hold things on yourself.
Oh, where's that list?
Underneath the character tab, there are handouts, and inside of handouts there's a party note and a party loot list.
Copy that thing.
But essentially, when and if you decide to take anything off of the party list, just always make sure to also separate it there. But Gundren will kind of go over the idea of the contract that you all have. Well, you see, I won't really be paying you so much as if you all stick around and help me do our business. There is a lot of money to be made, so you'll find your own way, and I'm sure the coin will follow there. And if things go well, we'll all be rich by the end of this. But I have all of my funds invested in something much larger. While I can say it behooves you to try to help me find my brothers, I can't just guarantee you coin for doing so.
Well, at some point, you know my interest. I have to get something to stick around.
Just out of actual game, if you guys go adventuring, you're going to get rich. And that's what he's telling you. If you guys actually continue to help him, at this point, Gundren no longer will actually fund anything for you, paying you as actual hired hands. But if you stick around, he is offering you a partnership in his venture, which has been extremely vague. But again, essentially, if you guys help him, there's nothing but riches for actually being adventurers, and pretty much everyone knows that. Well, I believe I should leave on my own and go look over our camp and see if I can find signs of my brothers and why they would be delayed here. I can suggest to you all a few places if you'd like to stay here in Phandalin. You can stay at the inn. It would be a few silver, perhaps, to stay at the Stone Hill Inn, just beyond us to the south here. I have a friend in... one second, let me grab the name as it slips my mind. I have a friend in Darren Edermath. He keeps the orchard to the west. You could certainly find a place to stay in his barn if you so desired. Or, just beyond his place, there's a nice little forest that you could camp in. I believe those would be good places for you all if you desire to stay in or about Phandalin here. There's ale to be had in Stonehill, but I believe I should go and look for my brothers and see what has come of our camp. Hopefully, positive things have turned with our venture here, and I can bring back great news for you tomorrow. But at this, I believe, with the news that Barthen has shared with me, I should be going.
I think it'd be good to go with our would-be patron, make sure nothing happens to him.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's probably best we leave him alone.
I appreciate the concern that you all have for me, but I think it's best that I head off on my own. You see, and I feel like he is vaguely revealed to you all that he is a dwarf, and he will kind of allude in the conversation that the trail that he intends to follow is best taken in the darkness of night, and it's kind of like a shady moment in how he describes things, in that he seems to basically be alluding to this fact that now that he's here in Phandalin, he won't really be showing his face in the daytime ever again. Kind of coming in here at dusk is about like the earliest he kind of ever makes an appearance in the town. Not really being welcome himself. And it kind of gives you all that little bit of clarity on why he's always been kind of hid beneath a hood, basically keeping himself in the shadow. Gives you a little bit more insight in why he had his little ploy at the bar when you all first would have met with him outside of Neverwinter, where he acted as if he were the bartender to get a feel for you all before he revealed himself. But he takes a few moments to go over these little bits of details where, well, I'll be sneaking in and out of the locale, and for now, I think it's best for me to go with stealth in this, for I need to see if they are okay, and if they are not, I will be able to return myself, and I will find you all back here. I believe I should be safe enough on my own. The great danger was while I was locked behind the cart and the goods on this trail. From this point, the cloud of night is perhaps my most important defense.
Well, I'm for the tavern because we got money. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm pretty good for a nap.
Plus, I got to heal up this mess here. I need a good night's rest.
Well, I want to see if I can find some interesting books in the area.
Well,
in the tavern.
I hate to break bad news to you, my friend. You will be difficult put to find anyone who's even literate in this place. Lady Gario may be the closest thing to someone who can actually read, and I assure you, she doesn't have much more than a prayer book. Sadly, outside of the major cities here, Phandalin is not known for those of learning.
Well, okay then. That's sad news for me.
Who's this Lady Gario? Tell us more about her.
Well, she's the keeper of the local shrine here. She's a bit of a healer herself. She's someone worth meeting in your own time. But perhaps she's, well, she's an interesting person to meet.
Well, we'll look for her. So we'll see you tomorrow, Gundren. What, bright and early? You want to meet in the morning right back here?
Well, let's look for me at dusk. Hopefully I can find you all to the evening. If you plan to stay at the Stonehill Inn, I should be able to meet you all there. I do not believe... I'll probably have to be sleeping at some point while the sun is up. I have a longer travel for the evening now, and hopefully I'll see my brothers well before the middle of the night here. But for now, we will see you tomorrow, and hopefully all will be well.
All right, good night, boss.
Can Justin get any sort of sense that Gundren's lying about his reasons for wanting to meet it, basically not meet during the day? Can he sense anything in particular about sort of Gundren's mood? Does he seem nervous or shifty?
You can pretty clearly see that while he is troubled, the nature of what he's describing, it makes pretty perfect sense that, this is clearly someone who is trying to avoid the eyes of this town at large. Make a insight check for me. I think you can probably make a pretty safe guess that Elmar might be his main contact in this area, and he's described a few other people that he knows of. but there's a pretty good chance that he doesn't really interact with the people of this town. And why it is, you may not get really a sense for at present. But from what you all can gather here, he's being pretty straightforward on the fact that at this point, night is his greatest advantage, in that he won't be traveling with torches. He'll be able to sneak off into the night and use the cover of darkness to basically mask his presence, and hopefully be able to find his brothers with stealth, and or find what has happened to them with the same ability. But essentially, he's being straightforward with you. He's not hiding anything other than the fact that he believes his best course of action is to stealth off into the night and find out what's happened with his brothers.
I suppose we'll see you at dusk.
Yes. Well, best of luck to you all tomorrow. Find what you may, and in the best of situations, we will see how things develop here. And he will lean into Elmar, and after a moment's kind of awkwardish hug, head out through the back. And as he kind of pulls his hood up and disappears into the night, it's just like an utter silence as he seems to step out of the door, as pretty clearly he's in his element at that point, kind of just disappearing into the sounds of night.
You boys need to do some shopping.
I think we can take care of that maybe tomorrow. After the traveling, I'm ready for a drink.
Same.
Ah, I like the sound of that.
So heading into Stonehill Inn, it's just southeast along the main road, entering through town. You progress just a few buildings down until you pass by what is clearly the inn. It's got a little bit of a din of conversation from inside. It clearly seems to be a little bit more of a place to be. Though this town is pretty silent overall, it seems to be one of the only places that actually seems to be active as the sun passes below the horizon. You guys can enter through the main door underneath a sign that is clearly just like a pile of stones that create a hill, and that's what the sign is, the Stonehill Inn. You all can step inside. You see a large kind of platform in the center, a large hearth to the east, as well as, I think, 2 doors to the east. You would probably immediately see 2 doors to the north, as well as a bar that passes for about 20 feet along the 40-foot west side of the building. And behind the bar, you would see a man whose age you couldn't really put at this point, as he seems to be wearing relatively nice but well-worn, almost farm-like things. Very common clothing, and he's got a straw hat sort of pulled down over his head as he sits with his feet up on a small little keg and his back leaned up against the wall. There's 3 people inside, 1 person in the back northeast corner who seems to be clouded in a bit of shadow, and then 2 people over near the hearth on the east side who seem to be in a little conversation to themselves. The person in the northwest seems to be drinking from a goblet, and the other 2 seem to be locked in conversation, paying very little attention as the 4 of you step inside of the Stonehill Inn. After a moment, you would see the gentleman behind the bar kind of tilt his hat up a little bit at the sound of the door closing behind you, and he'd kind of lean up towards you all. Hello, welcome to the Stonehill Inn. It's good to see fresh faces. What can I do for you all?
Well, what do you have to drink?
We've got a fine ale and a fine mead, and by fine I mean they'll get you drunk.
So what's the prices?
Well, if you'd like to get a small keg, I can open a keg for you all, and you can drink it a gold. Or, other than that, I can pour you a pint for 2 silver apiece.
Just a pint for me.
Do you prefer an ale, or would you like to have the mead?
No, just the ale and meat is for girls.
Clearly, you know nothing about the alcohol.
I'll take the keg of ale.
I think a keg for the table would be good.
Excellent. Good choice, good choice.
Yeah, and I'll just have a mug of mead myself.
He'll pull up a little mini keg, and he'll kind of set it out on the table. You'll see as he kind of steps towards the back, and after a few moments comes back out with 4 large mugs. And as he takes a moment with the keg, he'll walk over to you all as he taps it and pours the first 3 of the ales, and then stepping back with the 4th mug, he'll go back behind the actual bar to an already tapped keg and start to pour a fine golden mead from it. And he will shortly return back over to the table with the mead for you, and kind of take a moment over the table as he sets it down, and then just kind of walks away silently.
We didn't even catch his name, did we?
I didn't ask. So, you guys been traveling together long, or?
No, it's only been a couple of days at most.
All right. You only encountered those goblins there, or yeah, have you had other encounters?
Well, we had a fascinating encounter with some kobolds before the goblins.
Oh, okay. Hey, I don't remember if y'all told me about that or not. All right. So,
No.
everyone fared well and everything.
Oh yes, we didn't actually fight the kobolds. We were more diplomatic with them.
Einharger made friends with them.
In fact, they're the ones who warned us about the goblins in the area.
Well, to be fair, Boden was the one who made friends with them. I was merely the interpreter and the one who wrote the message.
Oh, that could have been helpful there as well. I speak Draconic.
Oh, do you now?
I do.
Oh, well, that's nice to see another bilinguist.
Oh, you speak it as well. Oh, you said you're the interpreter. Oh, okay. Okay. Cool. And where did you learn to speak Draconic?
Well, I mostly learned in my studies.
All right. So what are you all? Can see. Some of you are fighters here. Are you all fighters? Or are you some of you wizards or whatever, mages or whatever?
Well, I am a wizard, so no roughhousing for me, please.
All right.
Yeah, I'm just a farm, a fighter. My bow. I don't like to get too close to people.
That's not for me. Don't get me wrong, I do have a crossbow myself. I have like a little crossbow here in case they get too far away, but I usually like to fight up close. I got my great sword and my battle axe here.
As for me, I tend to try to avoid direct confrontation, but if it comes down to it, that can be useful.
That was okay. So both of you are carrying bows? No swords?
So Justin's he'll have a rapier and a couple daggers that are visible, as well as a short bow, and he's wearing
Oh, okay, yeah. All right.
armor.
Yeah, it's my bad. He would have seen that. Tyro would have seen that. So
Well,
okay.
yeah, that's on me. I didn't think I included that in my description when they first met. So, but yeah, he would all that would be visible on him.
You can
Alright,
see on
all good.
front a rapier and a whip.
Oh, okay. You ever use that? I point at the Tyrell points at the whip.
Sure, it's good for reaching things that can't be reached.
Oh no, I mean like you ever actually hit anybody with that thing or?
Oh yeah, it hurts.
Okay, all right.
Nice to stay a little farther away. And you guys have any sense of what's going on with that guy over there that's all by himself in the north there?
Make a perception check for me.
I was hoping to get one of them to do it, but I'll do it.
Nope, the fact that you pointed it out means that you're the one who's looking.
That's super unfortunate.
He seems to be a pretty stocky built figure who's just sitting back, drinking his ale. He kind of sways a little bit, as if he's been drinking for some time here. But by and large, it just seems like perhaps somebody who doesn't necessarily have anybody to be with, perhaps by choice, perhaps by the situation that he's in. But otherwise, he just seems to be someone who's keeping to himself, more or less hidden both by the shadow as well as his traveling cloak.
Oh, I mean, you want to go talk to him? Ask him what he's doing.
Yeah, that's not my strong suit. But yeah, go ahead over there. I'm curious about that guy.
This is a shady ass place, but all right. So yeah, Tyrell will go over there and ask him what's up. I mean, kind of like what's going on.
As you approach the table itself, you guys, depending on where you actually sat, it's really like a almost like 30 by 30 square that kind of surrounds what is almost like a center stage that's like a raised platform of this actual bar area. And as you approach, between both like the sound of your feet on the wood of the building itself and the fact that he's clearly isolated himself into this corner, you slowly see as his eyes are clearly lifted to watch as you approach closer. So he's already given you some sense as you approach to say hello that you have his attention. But as he kind of looks up at you, you can say hello.
Hey, how you doing? I just saw you sitting all over here by yourself, so wondering, I don't know, what you doing?
I don't know. Just here drinking. Don't really see any need to be sitting with any others. Is there something wrong with that?
Nah, no, just me and my friends are kind of curious, but this is kind of seems like a dead town, but it makes sense that you'd be drinking by yourself. Everything going all right though?
Doing fine enough as an ale can be. I don't. Got a mining town here and a place to lay my head at the end of the night. What was that?
Wait, is he talking to me? What's going on?
He's pretty clearly, like, wasted.
Oh, okay. All right, so I'm just like, well, Taro, like, well, obviously see that, I guess, or you want me to roll something?
No, I'm just saying, like, that was, like, part of the conversation, is that clearly he was, like, sitting there talking to you and had forgot in the progress of his sentence, he literally forgot what was going on and asked the question as if you said something, and he was responding to himself saying something.
Okay, so yeah, he's gonna notice what's going on and be like, well, you have a good night. Let's see. I'm gonna walk back over to the table.
It's been a pleasure.
It's all right. So I walk back over and sit down. It's like I lean back over to Bron and be like, this guy's shit-faced.
Did they ever mention? Does anyone know what this mining town's about? Like, what do they mine here? No one's ever told us.
Well, we could ask the barkeep. He would probably know a bit about the town.
Well, now that I've offended him about his honey-made drinks, I think that's probably not for me to do.
I can take a crack at him if you'd like.
That might have been more the DM. I actually make mead myself, so that may have been more of the DM than the bartender responding with that smart-ass comment.
Well,
Well,
fair
I've
enough.
actually got a friend who makes his own mead too.
But specifically, one of the things that I do for this town is Darren Edermath, the other person that Gundren suggested you all go to. Between his apple orchard and the bees that he actually keeps, he's basically the producer of the mead. So this town specifically enjoys that presence of a local made mead, basically. Whereas ale usually comes from a particular racial group. But stepping back in, you all are welcome to... I feel like you were going to step over to the barkeep. Or actually, it's more of an innkeeper.
So as Justin's heading over to the innkeeper, he's going to try and also casually see if he can overhear any of the conversation between the two near the hearth, if they're close enough.
Roll a perception for me. Because they're kind of on an opposite side of the area from the actual bar itself.
Ooh, shit.
Yeah, if only it was something that I really had details for. They're just random commoners. So, let's see.
That's fine.
You kind of pick up a little bit of a detail. It appears to be an actual couple, perhaps like a married couple. Perhaps they are people, like you clearly get the sense that they live together. You don't necessarily know the nature of their relationship. Whether it's like a brother and a sister, a married couple, or just people who share the same home for the purposes of a roof to live under. But they're essentially the little bits that you kind of pick up as you kind of like step up from the table and progress over to the barkeep is little bits of information sort of leading to the idea that they almost, you pick up like a little bit of their speech that they're clearly feel like an unease and almost as if they are at this point like trapped here. Roll an insight for me. You've already kind of been told from Elmar that the local protectors more or less take advantage of the people here, and kind of from what you kind of pick up as the little bit of time as you progress away from the table, you hear enough that like the road is not safe along the Tribor. There's been a lot of bad things that have happened to travelers, both merchants who are in caravans, as well as just isolated travelers who are just keeping to their own along the Tribor. That the Tribor trail itself is unsafe, and between that and the people who are here strong-arming, this couple feels uneasy about this, and you just kind of get that like almost claustrophobic feel about them, but you don't really pick up more than those kind of little hints, and in particular it's because almost they quiet down as you actually stand, because like the change in the environment almost like catches their eye again as they're speaking. But I think that's kind of what you could pick up from this group who's sitting over by the hearth. And then what would you like to say to the innkeeper?
Guess I'll ask him if he minds if I bend his ear for a moment, and I'll start by saying that my friend Idrin wanted to note that he's enjoying the mead.
That's good. That's some of the finest mead you'll find this far north. We actually have a fine fellow here who makes it. It's our own Darren Edermath. Has his own orchard and bees that he keeps. He makes all of the mead for us here, and we're quite proud to be the only distributor of his products.
Well, it's certainly a welcome little luxury after our time on the road. Must admit, as you've probably noticed, we're new in town, and maybe you can tell us a little bit about the place.
Travelers are always welcome here. What parts have you all come from? Are you from Tribor? Are you Waterdeep? Where have you come in from?
Just passing through from the north.
Oh, come down from Neverwinter, eh?
Yes, we've been traveling down from Neverwinter, helping bring a few supplies in.
Well, that's good. I assume you've brought things for one of our merchants here. Are you all a part of the Lion Shield Coster? You look pretty well armed, though and he kind of is like glancing over your different pieces of gear and whatnot. I don't see their maker's mark on you. Lord's Alliance? No, you all are far too ragtag to be Lord's Alliance. Well, what sort of goods have you brought here? Mining things, I assume? Are you all looking to strike it rich in the mountains?
I'm sorry. Is he just talking to all of us at this point, or is he still just talking to Jason and we're just still sitting at the table?
I think overall it would be an overhearable conversation. I think it would probably be best to assume that you all are sat relatively close to the bar, basically giving like a triangular positioning of the actual bar itself. You would have the two kind of east and slightly north of you over by the hearth on the east. The solitary person would be almost directly north of you, and then probably like say 5 or 10 feet away from you to the west and slightly north of you they would be having this conversation. But otherwise you're all inside of a larger open area room, so their conversation isn't really being held at a low level that is meant to mask anything, but at present they are essentially having an open conversation that you can pretty well assume everybody in here could hear if they took the time to listen.
Okay, yeah, I'll just stand up from the table and walk over there to Jason, where we're having this conversation. And what did he ask? He said like what we're doing here, basically. Or
Yeah, he was more or less inquiring about what sort of goods you all had brought in. And from what you can gather from the different bits from Gundren, from the... Well, I guess realistically at this point it would only be Yastin who more or less overheard those two in their conversation until... so I should point out, when you overhear something and I give you information, if I say it in front of everybody, it is assumed that you share all of that information. You don't actually have to take the time to repeat it. That's where also, though, you can say, I would tell everybody this, and if you frame it like that, you more or less are saying only that specific information, and everything else that they overheard, they kind of have to block out as meta knowledge, as if they did not overhear it. So there are those levels of things. When I share something in particular, I'll take people into a private room and tell things to people, like, alone sometimes, and that's where you can come back and you're allowed to repeat things. And I do that in particular so there's that telephone effect of, I'm going to tell you something, and if you say it back to people in a solid enough way, no information will be lost. But there's a certain amount of like lost information that is assumed when I do that. But at present, essentially, Yasin has overheard them talking about the troubles of the town and the Tribor Trail, but has not had a chance to share it with everyone. But at present, he is essentially, and you guys would have overheard, that the innkeeper is curious about what you all have brought to town. And I think everybody as players, you would have that understanding that already this town, there's some reason that Gundren was able to pay 48 gold to have all of you take a 4-day trip south. That's a lot of gold to be paid to do next to nothing. And it's clearly pointing to whatever it is happening in this town, bringing stuff into the town is something valuable.
I don't know if I'm gonna tell him about all that stuff.
I think we want to tell him that we made a drop-off at Barthen's for Elmar.
I'll just say maybe nothing special, I'm afraid, and then I'll sort of trying to change the subject. You see a lot of people coming here for the mining.
Well, we're an old miner town. It was a wealthy area in the past here. There's gold and riches to be had in these hills. Most of who you'll meet in town supply services to the miners about, but as long as we have Halia and the Miners' Exchange here, we'll always have a steady flow of miners coming through town. And he'll kind of like look towards the gentleman in the northwest.
The drunk guy?
Yeah. And did you actually walk up to him, Ty?
Yeah, I did.
With your soldier's background, he would clearly be able to see where you acquired your gear. And if you're not actually mentioning things, you'd get at least a little bit of a nod from him as he more or less recognizes, and you can pick this up pretty quickly, that to see somebody who is essentially wearing the gear of the Lord's Alliance, and the fact that he's already mentioned it, it's kind of clear to him that you are essentially equipped by the Lord's Alliance.
Talking about the innkeep who notices me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
And that, again, that's predominantly because of like things like Maker's Marks, and the style at which armorers basically make things. That's why the first thing that he saw or questioned was for the Lion Shield Coster as he was looking over Yastin's gear. But your stuff in particular would be pretty clearly Lord's Alliance make. And that wouldn't necessarily surprise you either. But again, it's just kind of like a subtle nod to he's not an uneducated man.
I gotcha. I don't think Tyrell would say anything about it.
Yeah, but that's all it is. It's just kind of like a subtle understanding as he looks over your being. you kind of get the sense that he would. All I'm basically saying is that as he looks over things, and the fact that he's already, like, his second guess was the Lord's Alliance for you all, it's a pretty quick understanding that he's probably already recognized this over you, but he doesn't actually mention it again. So it's not like he's throwing it to you to actually say anything about it. I'm just saying that in particular, most anybody who knows sort of the basics of the militaries of the North recognizes the presence of a member of the Lord's Alliance, and for whatever reason, there's like a certain level of respect. It's almost like a head nod to you, as he kind of looks over your being, and then like he kind of just like nods things, and like again he kind of kept talking about this is a miners' town. We've always got a flow of miners. When he looked over to the gentleman in the northwest.
I got you. Well, as soon as he looks and like gives me the nod, then notices that that's what the marking is. I'll be like, the tower would be like, well, I'm not with them anymore. I'm not on like any official business with them anymore. Gotten out, so I just kept the armor and the weapons. So nothing like that at all.
So
a little bit more about the Lion Shield Coster, and they think they have any work for us?
Well, you may find some work with the Coster. Linian isn't a terribly trusting woman, but she's very capable in her own rights. You may just have to speak with her in your own time, but perhaps she'll be able to find a reason to trust you. But it's hard to say that she would need anything. The Coster keeps care of their own. But they supply most of our weapons of war that come to this town. And though there's not a large need for it, they are able to afford to fund a location even if it doesn't sell at first. But it seems clear then, if you've brought things for Barthen, you all are on a different level of what is a profitable merchant. It's curious to see 4 armed folk come in for Barthen, but the road is getting dangerous.
Just a happy coincidence. Seem to find each other on the road, both headed the same way.
The road offers little but the same way for those who are traveling upon it. It's always safety in numbers. It seems if you've made it here as a whole, then you've all done well.
And it is better than numbers. I've traveled a good bit by myself, so yeah, I can understand that.
So while I'm here, might I inquire about rooms for the evening?
We can most certainly put you up in a room. Do you all care for your own? Would you like to bunk as a group? Or it's sort of up to you what level you'd like to enjoy your comforts. But I have rooms for rent. It's what I gave up mining for. I make a far better innkeeper than I do a miner.
Imagine it's cheaper to bunk up all together, right?
Oh, yes, of course. I've got finer and I've got more austere options, depending on what you need. If all 4 of you care to share a room, we can most certainly set you up with 4 beds and 4 walls. If you all would like things nicer, I can set you up in a little more private establishment where you have a bed, a bath, and a chest for your goods. But it's up to you all what you would care to use and how you prefer to stay.
I'm okay with bunking up with you guys.
Yeah, I'd suggest to the group maybe not letting on that we have a little bit of gold. So sort of act as the poorer travelers and just get a single room.
I agree, and I'll say to keep it. Is there any way we can just use get a bath in? Is there some sort of charge for that, or does that just come with the room?
Well, if you go for if you all choose to bunk together, I'm afraid we don't have a private bath for you, but we certainly have water that you can draw up to clean yourselves. It, of course, won't be heated or anything, but you can keep yourselves clean and fresh. But it would be, well, you all got a keg, an ale, or a keg of ale and a mead. We could do the room for you all with that, and you can see this guy clearly has no clue how to do math. He is absolutely lost trying to think in his head what he owes you. And then after a moment, he's like, yes, well, there's then... give me one moment to speak with Trelena, and I'll be right back out with you. And he walks back through the back, and after a few moments, you hear a little bit of a shouting in the back room, and then you see a young woman step out who's kind of late 20s, mid 30s, but clearly they're this man's wife, roughly the same age as him, and she kind of steps back through the front, and behind the bar she kind of looks over you all, and she's just like, it'll be 18 silver.
Damn. Okay, so 18 silver. How much is that in gold? It's like 2 silver per gold, right? So that would
It's
be
10
6
silver
gold.
per gold.
10 silver per gold. Oh, okay. All right. That's way better. That's all together with the room and all the drinks and everything.
Yeah, that's the room, the keg, and then the mead. And again, that's in part why I actually put stuff into the party loot list rather than always creating stuff for people individually, is because a lot of things that you all will actually spend money on is essentially spent as a group.
I got you. I actually took my 12 and put it in on D&D Beyond. So I'll
Oh yeah, that's perfectly functional as well. In the long run, all it comes down to is that you all just have to keep upkeep on that. Like I was saying, if you guys actually progress forward as adventurers, you will be rich regardless. Things don't really cost nearly as much as you can find adventuring. So it's purely up to you all to actually do the upkeep. But at this point, anytime you're spending inside of a town, there's not really any issue with exchanging things. So all it is somebody has to remove 2 gold, and you'll basically get 2 silver back in the exchange. But other than that, you all are welcome to a room. It's a very simple, austere setup. The room is slightly larger than the 4 beds. Each is kind of pushed forward towards a corner, and I'm about to sneeze one moment. It's not going to happen because I talked about it. Each bed is pushed into a corner, so there's little more space than what it takes to essentially doff your armor, to take off your armor, and to prepare yourselves to sleep. But there's a small table inside of there that has a candle, so you can have a little bit of light as you all prepare for bed. I would assume that you probably have around half or so of a keg remaining, depending on how many actual ales that you drank. You would have plenty of that. Unless somebody specifically got wasted, you probably wouldn't even be approaching the half. But you all can basically sit back, take a long rest, and then whenever you're ready, continue on with the next day. Unless you had any other questions.
Since we've half of us have taken 12 gold out of the party loot, let's clear up for the day, and you other 2 guys take that money too, so we're all square.
go ahead and take that. I'll drop 1 gold for the for kind of half the payment or whatever. Someone else wants to drop a gold and get some silver back or something. I don't know. Whatever you want to do.
I'll do that. Question out of character: the party notes, I've been putting notes in there. Can everybody see the same, or are they individual for each person?
Nope, it's all set up so there's just a singular. And yeah, every time you add it, as long as you make sure to save it, it will share across everybody.
All right. Well, they're verbose, but I've been making some notes. So we should talk about what we want to do tomorrow before Bront goes to sleep, because he's not doing guard duty tonight.
And I'll just take the time to inform them what I overheard about the couple, and just suggest that there might be problems in town in addition to the dangers on the road. Sort of relating what I overheard.
All right. What were the problems again? What's going on?
So the local, I don't know if you would call them a militia, but the local security seems to be kind of strong arming the citizens in town. Maybe a little bit corrupt, and there have been attacks on the road, both among commoners and even merchants.
All right.
Yeah, I believe Barthen shared with you all that the town mayor is pretty spineless, a coward. He doesn't really do anything to keep the people who are strong arming the people at bay, so he's complicit by his inaction in kind of how they're strong arming people. Though that couple shared that, or rather was overheard with that little bit of stress in their conversation. And then between Gundren hiring you all, and then a few different mentions from different people, you've gathered that the road itself is unsafe. But certainly for more capable adventurers, that's one of the things that's somewhat expected heading off into the frontier. Those with power use it to gain their own advantage.
What do you guys think about going to see this town master tomorrow and offering to clean up his goblin problem? Because that's his problem, right? Those goblins.
Again, as long as there's some money in it. Well, you obviously all know my intentions. But yeah, I'm down for that. We got to meet Gundren at dusk. I mean, excuse me. Yeah, at dusk, right?
Yeah,
We got
that's
like all
right.
day. Yeah, so we got all day to kind of mess around in town and see what's going on.
Well, I've got a bone to pick with those goblins. If we can get paid for it, that's just better.
I'm not sure. It doesn't sound like he's the type to be particularly worried about anything that's happening beyond the town, but it's just my sense.
Well, to be fair, if they're attacking anyone on the road to the town, that means there's business in the town, and that's his business.
I
Perhaps
vote
the
Einharger should talk about it with him. He's the right man for the job. I was suggesting Einharger should be the one to talk to the town master because he's got the right idea.
Oh, okay.
All right, I can do that tomorrow.
Hey, you guys didn't find anything on those goblins when you goblins you killed earlier when we met up?
nothing useful. I rolled pretty poorly when I did my search, so just kind of nothing. Just a bunch of detritus.
Okay, okay. All right. Well, hopefully when we kill these goblins tomorrow, they actually got some stuff on them.
I like having you around.
All right, and then I guess as this conversation's going on, I will like start taking off armor and stuff like that, and then go over his weapons and stuff, and yeah, unless like once the conversation's over, he's just gonna go to bed.
If everybody is all set for at present, let's take a short little break here. Once everybody gets back, we can start back up, but essentially, let's just take 10 or 15 minutes, about 5 till the hour, basically. And again, if you're back before then, we'll get started once everybody's back. Otherwise, take a few moments, you'll be able to get your long rests, and we will pick up with the next day.
All right, sounds good.
Thanks.
All right.
Although he's also the one who has that gem-encrusted dagger that the kobolds gave him.
That's right. I wanted to put that in the notes, and I couldn't remember what it was. What did it look like?
I think it was like a small obsidian dagger.
Harger, we were just talking about how Broden didn't get any gold, but he also got the cobalt obsidian dagger, right?
Yeah, right. That
Yeah, I
was
think it's
gems
gonna-
on that. Oh, right. Sorry.
No, I think it's going to work because we have you, and you can, write them another note. So I made a bunch of notes like as we were going, but if you guys want to add to those, that'd be cool. It's not that neat and clean. And I think one of the two of you didn't take your money out of the party loot list.
I took mine. I took 12 for me. I'm happy to. I don't know if who ended up taking the money out for the rooms, but I'm happy to. If you just want to split that 4 ways, if that's easy. No, can't really do that, I guess.
My character has never had this much money. He's happy to pay for part of it. You can pay for it tomorrow.
All right, I forgot to take away from the party the money I got.
I'm
Yeah,
cool with us leaving it in there, but if we're gonna it can't be asymmetric, right? Where it's getting split up by some and not everybody. So maybe
but like
tomorrow.
the I already paid half of it, so like the 1 gold I took away. So like 8. Somebody just needs to lose a gold and then gain 8 silver. That's it.
I did that.
Two
so
silver.
It has to be paid for it.
2 silver. Okay. So yeah. That was for the rooms and the ale and the meat and everything. So we don't have to pay for rooms again at all. That's my understanding, right?
I'll say maybe
That was
tomorrow.
for the night. Yeah, we can just have the other 2 of us pay tomorrow.
Okay. All right.
Whatever.
Yeah, that was
whatever
just
comes up.
settling up the bill. It was a gold for the keg, 2 silver for the ale, and then it was 6 for the room.
Also, before we go any further, does anybody like get offended by language and stuff like that? I know I was cursing earlier, but I just want to make sure before we go any further. Yeah, it's totally cool if you get offended by that stuff. totally get
I
it. and
curse
won't do
pretty
it.
regularly, so everybody will have to get used to it if they have an issue.
Yeah, no issues for me.
Okay.
Yeah, no issues from me either. So
Yeah, I think curse words is probably the one thing that I don't really offer people that I will change on because I don't even think about it. At best, I can control myself most of the time around children.
Actually, the first time the kobolds got close, I think both Einharger and Bronze cursed them off.
All right. Yeah. I thought I'd before we get started up again, I thought I'd ask that. So just make sure we're all good. Cool.
Sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry anything about Bowden gold-wise if he ends up coming back sooner than later. We can always... That's just a quest. You all are offered 10 gold to help Gundren travel south. I gave you 12 gold just as a part of how I played things off. Again, gold is not something that adventurers have to worry about. That's literally why people become adventurers, is because you can essentially get rich in an instant. And it's part of what is recognized as the reason why people would ever risk their lives to be adventurers.
Cool. All right.
But if
Well.
everybody...
Bowden's up early, waiting for you guys.
Wait, Bront?
Yeah, sorry, Bront. I was sending a note to Dave. Sorry, yeah, Bront's up early. He's a farmer. He's ready to go.
Yeah. I guess Tyrell will be the same. Being in that military background, he would be up fairly early as well.
So when you all wake up and go about your business, you can start your day as you'd like to. You can head straight out of the inn. You can sit down for a morning breakfast. It's pretty well up to you all what you would like to do at this point.
All right. Yeah. Tyrell is gonna head downstairs and get a breakfast.
Yeah, I think a quick breakfast would be a good idea. Just maybe something like bread and cheese or something from the inn, whatever they got.
yeah, sounds like a good idea.
Great.
While we're having breakfast, just discuss sort of, do you have an idea where we want to go first, or do you want to stay all together? Do we, yeah, so.
Yeah. I think it's best if we stick together. And we I'm interested in this mayor character. I want to go talk to this guy. Oh well, we said we were going to do something else last night. What did we say?
We said we could see the town master. I think that's who you mean, the mayor, right? Harbin?
Yeah, that's it. So let's go
coward.
talk to this guy and then see what the problem is, and see if we can find like maybe where these goblins are hanging out, or in some sort of cave or some sort of headquarters or something, and yeah, kill them and take all their stuff.
Can we ask Triellen if she knows anything about the town master?
What are you trying to inquire?
Like, where do we find the town master?
He'll be in the town master's hall. You just a little south of us here, past the square. You can easily see it. They've got the work board out front for any bounties or things that the town is currently funding. But other than that, it's just a few buildings south of us.
Thank you. Anything we should know about him?
Not much to say about Harbin. He's a spineless banker.
Aren't they all?
You see a Tyrell writing in his journal, spineless banker. Got it.
Yeah, I believe you all would have heard, I think it was as Elmar called him a spineless coward.
Yeah, I guess as soon as we're done eating, I guess we're all heading over there.
So like a plate of bread, cheese, and like cold meats would be like 4 silver for the lot of you.
Pay for breakfast.
Thank you, sir.
As you step out of the Stonehill Inn, you've got like a short walk along a smaller little road, heading a little bit downhill into the main town square. It's a pretty open little area. There's not much necessarily going on in it at present. It's still earlier in the day. Most people would be kind of at work about in their fields. There are a couple of children like playing on the town green to the west of you all. You don't really see too many people walking around the streets itself, but every once in a while you do spot people here and there. There's not much going on in the town itself at this point, but as you round the corner and start to head south along like the main thoroughfare that heads like north-south through Phandalin, You see a few larger buildings, a ruined temple directly in front of you all to the west, a larger, pretty high stone-walled building to the south and west of you that has a lion with a shield behind the actual face of the lion being in silhouette. And then to the south and slightly east, you would see a pretty fully wooden building across a ancient flagstone foundation that is placed to the east, and that has a large board that just kind of shows a few different pieces of parchment that have been pinned up against it, and from Trilena's description is pretty clearly the town master's hall.
This is the place. Let's go talk to this guy.
I just want to take a look at the what's up on the parchment first. What's up on the board before we head in?
There are a few different pieces of parchment along the board. The different things that you would see at first is there is currently a bounty being offered to clear up some of the orcs that seem to be raiding along the Tribor Trail. And that has 100 gold bounty attached to it.
Ooh. Oh wait, I don't see this.
Yeah, if you give me a second, I'll share it. For some reason, Roll20 is lagging.
Oh no, I was just mean like Tyrell doesn't see that. I guess I'll see him looking at it and then I.
Oh yeah, you are all walking past it. Like, you have to explicitly ignore it to enter the Town Master's Hall.
Well, fuck yeah! Look at this. Let's do this.
Yeah, I stole this board from another game, and one of those is definitely a quest specific to them, but it doesn't mean it can't exist here. So those are the quests that you can currently see on the board.
Cool. Let's go see this guy. He's got he needs a lot of help. I think he needs us.
So from the actual board, there's a large wooden. There's 2 large wooden doors that are the entrance to the Town Master's Hall. When you open them up, they open up into a large open columned room. Whoops, I hit my microphone. With a hearth that runs almost the entire length of the hall itself, with an open, essentially like atrium above. And you can pretty clearly see that you could basically have a massive bonfire inside of this building itself. It's very reminiscent of like a Norse-style longhouse, but across the room you see a pedestal or a raised area of floor with a large wooden, it's not specifically a throne, but essentially a large wooden chair that operates as a adorned throne-like pedestal for the town masters to sit on. And in the chair you would see a fat man, kind of like just sitting, seems to be poring over a little bit of paperwork in front of him, and more or less seems somewhat stressed at the moment as he looks up when everybody opens the door and starts to head into the town hall. Hello. We have nothing more to give you. Please leave us alone.
I'm sorry.
I have nothing more to give you. Why do you keep bothering me? Please. We're just poor folk. We are just trying to live our way.
There seems to be a misunderstanding here. We're not here to take anything. We're here about the bounty board outside your hall.
Not here to take anything. I've heard this before.
No, we're not here to take anything. Well, we're here to take your money after we kill these orcs and whatever this wizard crap, whatever you got here. Yeah, all that stuff. We're gonna take your money after that.
We might be able to help you with whoever it is that's taking all your stuff.
That too, if you give us money.
Well, come in. Who are you? What are you here in Phandalin for?
I'm sorry, wait. He said, "Who are we in here for?"
Who are you Who are you? What are you here in Phandalin for?
We're just adventurers who've been hired to protect someone while getting here, but that's not really that important. What's more important is what we can do for you now.
Interesting. So, you don't look like much. You've fancy yourselves adventurers, eh?
Yeah.
Well, if you'd like to clean up the road about us, the town has levied 100 gold to kill off the orcs. That would certainly be an impressive feat for a ragtag group such as yourselves.
Yeah, we can take care of that. Do you have any idea of how many of them there are, or any sort of information on where they are, or
Well, they're not here in the town master's hall, and that's about the extent of where I venture. So, no, I don't. But that's why we're paying such a hefty price to have them removed. Because at present, well, the town's struggling to get everything. You see, everything we need has to come down the Tribor, and they seem to be everywhere along it. Whether it's coming from Tribor in the east or Leonlin from the south, it's... oh, everything's getting waylaid along the way here. It's a troubling time for our little town as we try to get off our feet.
And might I ask, just who did you think we were when we first walked in? Seemed to be visible.
He kind of looks about hesitantly, both to, like, behind you all, and then there's, like, doors both to the right and to the left and behind him, and he's kind of glancing around those three different, pretty clear entrance points of the hall itself. Maybe I was mistaken, but I was worried you were here to take what we don't have to offer.
Who can tell us more about the orcs? Anybody in town?
I believe everybody in town keeps pretty well to their own, but we've had some trouble for quite some time getting things coming in from the larger cities about us. I'm not really sure who might know anything else. Most of what has been lost is life as well as the goods that have been attempted to... caravans have been waylaid, and that people don't really live after orcs attack.
Seems like you might be having some trouble even after anything does make it through.
Well, we all knew life wasn't going to be easy, and that's part of why there's much profit to be made outside of the larger domains where nobles are. We can make our own fates, but sometimes there's other fees. There's other things to be paid.
Can you be any more specific? Might be able to deal with more than orcs.
Kind of glancing around the room again. Some things are best not to be spoken about. Life can be dangerous on the frontier, and we've made our peace with that.
Well, we get that you don't trust us yet, but maybe you will after we produce some results.
Results are definitely a good start. If you can help the town, that's certainly a good start for gaining the goodwill of our people. But it's, please be careful. You can't. Don't rouse too much. Don't ruffle too many feathers.
Okay.
Be discreet.
Yes, that's a wise choice. Yes, that's an excellent path forward. Yes, that is a good plan.
Can you tell us more about Adabra Gwyn, who's been missing?
Oh, she's she's at the windmill, a little bit southwest of us here, just a few miles outside of town. But she comes in for supplies pretty regularly, and, well, nobody has seen her for some time, and we're just hoping that somebody might be able to go and pay her a visit and see that she's still well, that she doesn't need anything, doesn't need an escort. Good woman, good woman. She's a little bit eccentric, but she's good woman. She's definitely, she can be forgetful, and we just need to make sure that she still has everything that she needs.
And what about this court wizard who's also missing? Is that a common occurrence in this part?
I got a little note coming down from Neverwinter to search for her. This, I don't really know too much, but other than just people keeping an eye out for her. I don't really know much about the ways of wizards or what she might be up to. I just know that Lord Neverember is looking for her, and that she's gone missing. But it's very. I'm afraid you all think I know more than I do, and I'm really just the face of this town, despite the pressure that is put on me for it. I'm just an elected official. I don't know much more than anyone else who might be around.
It's not a very good face.
Well, it's what I was born with.
I was just kidding. It was just a joke. Just a joke. Not anything personal.
Do you know there's goblins to the north?
I can't say I'm surprised. I would say we're on the verge of being overrun and destroyed by any number of threats at pretty much any number of times of any given day. There's a reason all of the homes are freshly built over ancient flagstones.
Jesus. Okay. You said that there's a militia here, right? There's somebody, a group of people that.
Shh. It's all right. There's nothing to fear. They keep us well.
Well, yeah, that's what I was saying. That they actually help in some way, right?
Yes, very helpful. Yes, oh, yes, of course, they're extremely helpful people. Very good to the town. Very good to the town.
Okay, so I whispered to them like, okay, so they don't help at all. Okay, this is bad. This is really bad.
Brown walks over to the east door and sort of opens it to take a peek to see if there's anybody on the other side of it.
So if you actually walk through the hall, they're not actually like they're doorways, not actually doors. They're just kind of basically like stepping into the back area of the hall. More or less, he's at the place where he would like entertain guests and actually have any conversations with townfolk who would call on him. It's essentially where he would work, and then there's little bits towards the back, like you would see, kind of like an interconnected hallway. So either door is essentially like walking into this back area. They have a few different like cells with like actually like wrought iron. It's not even necessarily like a full actual wall of iron to like make a cell, but like large wooden doors that actually have like wrought iron bars to be able to look through. It's probably one of the few times that you would see an actual like locking mechanism on a door rather than just like a piece of wood that drops over a latch to essentially bar the door, versus this is an actual like lock for the cell itself. But otherwise it seems like a pretty simple back area of the hall. doesn't really give any signs of people necessarily being back here. It's purely just his own paranoia that at any point he could be listened to, and that perhaps speaking about these people may be enough that if they overhear, you might gain their ire.
All right, well, I'm going to rejoin the party and maybe give everybody the high sign that we've probably gotten about everything we're going to get from this guy.
So, given that we'd hardly like to cause these protectors trouble, how might we recognize them if we see them?
He kind of like glances around the hall again. If you look for the people who aren't doing anything productive, that's them. And I want to throw out there, you guys can definitely get quests that are pretty much guaranteed to kill you if you approach them. So when you find things that you can quote-unquote accomplish, don't pretend that you can just be successful doing it. Be intelligent about what you go forward with, and that includes everything that I have potentially presented before you at this point.
You guys ready to head outside and have a chat about what we're going to do next?
I was
Maybe
gonna
we,
ask. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say maybe we thank him for his time. I don't know if we want to just mention to him where we're staying, or not even do that at this point. Just wait until we maybe know a little bit more about what's going on.
I wouldn't. I imagine he knows. It's like maybe he saw us walk down there, but yeah, I imagine if he knows we just came into the town, he probably knows where we're staying at. I don't know. But I was gonna ask. He didn't say like the militia doesn't wear any sort of uniform or like anything. Like,
To look for the people who aren't being productive.
okay, all right. I imagine we'll get something when we see a group or something. All right, yeah. Let's go out and talk about what we're gonna do.
Thanks, Town Master. See you in a bit.
You all be safe. Thanks for coming to Phandalin, and may all be well.
See ya.
Let me get outside. Brown says that spineless seems like the right word.
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much.
Maybe we can go find this windmill, though, and have a quick win, and we'll earn some points with him. He'll tell us what's going on.
Check up on that. What Gwyn lady?
Yeah, the missing Adabara.
Yeah, what did he say? Just south of the town, there's a windmill.
Yeah, he said 3 miles. We can be there in an hour, right?
Yeah, let's do that. The orc thing sounds like it's kind of like almost never ending.
Well, it seems like we might have to wander around on the road till the orcs find us.
It might make sense to, before we try anything too crazy, makes sense to once Gundren gets back at dusk, we can talk to him and see what he found after he went looking for his brothers. I'd like to just take a quick sort of stroll past the Lion's Head Coster, but I'm okay with going to the windmill.
Cool, let's go to the Lion's Head and maybe we'll ask if they know Adabara Gwyn.
Even just before we go in, I'd be curious to see what kind of how heavy the activity looks around.
All right.
Yeah, it'd probably be a little bit closer to like a normal part of the morning. The sun's well up into the day. It's still not like approaching high sun or anything. But as you all leave the actual Town Master's Hall, there's certainly more people going about town. There's different groups kind of just walking here and there. There's a little bit more like activity around the town green, but otherwise it still seems like a pretty just like normal day. Doesn't really seem like there's much of anything going around here. But there's maybe between like the children playing on the green and the few people that you see walking here and there, maybe like 5 people to be seen in the town square at this point. But otherwise, as you just kind of walk across the street to the Lion Shield Coster. It's got like a bit of a veranda around it where you can step up onto part of like almost like a deck under shelter, and you can see, or rather you can hear sounds of steel being beat, clearly presented as a location of a blacksmith, and you can smell like the burning of coal and the like steel in the heat. And as you kind of like walk around the area. This building seems to be pretty well protected across like a larger foundation with a larger wood frame to it. But as you kind of round the corner, there's an open area where the heat just pretty quickly blasts you. And you see a young woman who is working at the, not foundry, at the forge, and is currently just working on some random tool. It just seems like she's working a bit of steel, folding it at present.
So I'll walk up and, say hello.
Taking a few moments to get her attention, she eventually like finishes the little bit that she's working on and kind of sets the piece of steel on the side of the forge, letting the bellows kind of relax a little bit, and the glow sort of drops from it as she looks up to you all. Hello, hello, welcome. What can I do for you today?
Oh, we just got here yesterday. Just kind of passing through at the moment. We were on the board for the at the town hall. We're gonna go look for this Gwen Abra Adbra. I don't know how to say her name. Gwen, do you know this lady?
The moment that you say we just got here in town yesterday, she's going to stop you as she kind of throws her hand up. You'll get nothing from me. This is not the place to come to strong-arm people. The Lion Shield caster cannot be forced into your ill bargains.
Not trying to do anything like that. Literally, just looking for this lady. That's all. That's all. Looking for information. That's it.
Say what you will, but you can strong-arm Harbin all you want. You're not gonna get anything from me. Just be gone. Can't you all find anything better to do than to force yourselves on peasants?
Again, not trying to force ourselves on you at all. Look, well, my great sword is sheathed. Okay, I'm not trying to do anything at all, except for just trying to get some information. Not gonna hurt nobody. Not trying to get anything from you except for information. That's it.
Roll a persuasion for me. She'll take a moment to kind of like wipe the sweat from her brow. And as she takes like a second to actually look over you all, as she pretty quickly notices that you're, again, it's one of those recognitions of essentially the make of Lord's Alliance gear. And you kind of see like a little flash across her eyes as it almost connects to her, like, perhaps my assumption was wrong. Who did you say you were?
I didn't say my name at all, actually. My name is Tyrell Stormborn. I'm here with Bond, Jasmine, and Edrin here, and yeah.
Interesting. And you say you have been business with Adabra?
Never actually met the lady before, but yeah, we're just looking for her.
Interesting. Well, she's a little bit more on the outskirts of town, but she's one of ours nonetheless. If you follow the road out to the southwest here, and she just points like essentially south of where you all are at the Lion Shield Coster, there's just like a single solitary road that sort of winds out of the south end of Phandalin. If you follow our road here, it will take you to Adabra. She's just beyond the area. She keeps herself isolated, so be weary heading that way, but tread softly. Going to meet her. If you surprise her, she can handle her own. But otherwise, she's a fine old lady. Just be Be careful if you have business with Adabra. She can be intriguing.
Oh, that's noted. And so you haven't heard from her or anything like that at all?
I don't have much business with conjurers and those who would play around with herbs and such things. I think if she has business in town, she's usually speaking with Gariel. I myself am intrigued by things that I don't believe interest her, as the things that she plays with don't really interest me.
Where can we find this Gadriel?
Oh, she's just in the Shrine of Luck. It's the ruins inside of the town square here.
All right. Cool. I guess
Thank you.
oh, well, I guess we'll go talk to her. Yeah.
I was just saying thank you. Do you want to go look for? Do you want to go talk to Gadriel, the healer?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think we actually met anybody that knows this lady yet, so I guess we'll go talk to her and see what she actually knows about her. If she's actually talked to her, or what's going on.
Good call.
Yeah, I guess unless somebody else has some questions for this lady here, or I guess we'll just head up the street and go to the ruins.
Yeah, I think if Gariel knows Dobra, that makes sense to talk to her.
Maybe there'll be a book for you on Harger.
Well, one can hope.
So if you leave the Lion Shield Coster, it's essentially the other end of the square. You're just kind of stepping off of their veranda onto the square, and across the way there's clearly an old flagstone ruin that opens up into a small temple, and inside you would see a larger kind of pool of clear water cast across the central area of this ruin, and at present there appears to be a armored figure who's kneeled at the opposite side of the temple, and appears to be on one knee in a silent prayer.
So, Justin's like to approach the central pool of water. Does it look like the kind of place that's used for accepting offerings? Are there any like coins in the bottom of the pool, or?
Yeah, it's more or less a sort of wishing well or such thing that one might present an offering into the water as a gift to the god of this temple.
Can this be Tamora, Shrine of Luck?
Make a religion check.
The outside, or sorry, it may what check?
Religion. There doesn't seem to be any outwardly signs at present of really any specific deity attached to it. But I think it's pretty safe that you could assume this is likely still a shrine dedicated to Tamora, but again, it's definitely in ruins. There's little more than the actual wishing well and the old alcove that a statue of the deity would have been, but is essentially in ruins.
Okay, so Justin's going to he'll flick a sort of approaching the pool, flick a silver coin in, see if the splash maybe if the kneeling figure seems to notice it at all.
You see as this figure slowly stands back up and kind of twists back around to look on you all, and she would slowly bow and welcome, welcome. How interesting. It's my name's Gariel. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Again, I say hello. How are you doing?
And you as well, Gariel. My name is Justin.
Brant nods at her.
Yes, hello.
Intriguing group you all make. What may I do for your needs?
Yeah, we were looking for Adbra Gwyn. Don't know if I'm saying that right still. Yeah, we were told that you're the one that has the most contact with her. Have you just wonder if you've seen her or anything lately?
I've often used her balms, salves, and different things that she crafts. I don't often go to her neck of the woods, but she's certainly a intriguing person to meet. I've not seen her for quite some time now, though.
Oh,
We
damn.
heard
Okay.
we heard she was missing on the bounty board. There's a bit of a reward.
Well, I believe people expect her to come to town here and there. I think they misunderstand the choices that the path that she walks.
Seems strange that anyone would pay 50 gold pieces for a misunderstanding.
Oh, that
I
was
don't believe there is a reward for going to visit her. Oh yeah, damn, that was a mistake on. No, yeah, that's 50 silver pieces for her.
That sounds much more reasonable. Do you think we should go take a walk out there and see her?
She can be an interesting person to meet. Don't surprise the little old lady. But if you do venture that way, take care of yourselves.
You're the second person to tell us to take care of ourselves when meeting her. Is there anything dangerous there?
Well, hmm. She kind of looks over you, and after a moment, kind of like deeply staring into Edrin's eyes, you are likely familiar enough to know that those who touch the weave are not to be underestimated, despite their outwardly appearances. Perhaps it's best to understand that her powers are strong despite the looks that people would see with little attention to the details.
Okay. I guess we'll just have to do our best to not look threatening. It'll be probably quite difficult.
Well, you all are doing a great job at present. I just try not to surprise her if you do go to visit her. It's just enough to visit and make yourselves known, usually. Otherwise, she's a friendly enough lady, and she cares much for the well-being of others. It's just... well... don't let her mistake you for those who would take what does not belong to them.
Harbin mentioned that she sometimes comes in for supplies. Do you happen to know what kind of supplies she typically picks up? Perhaps we could bring something to her to show her good faith.
Oh, just little things, preparations like rice and flour, the type of things that she can't forage for in the wild. She is not much for the society that we offer here. She's quite at home, alone and to herself. But usually she comes in to trade her bombs for different things that we all can make for her at much easier than what her effort would be worth. It's the little things. Well, it's hard to say what she might need. But essentially you can gather that she is somebody who lives on the outskirts, and she trades different, like, medicines, essentially, for different things that's, like, essentially a bit of manufacturing can save her a lot of time in her day-to-day, like, requirements. Not necessarily in particular things like rations, but essentially the things that she would make her food with. And that's why it's essentially really just like flour and rice, the type of things that are usually a little bit easier with a production.
Oh, thank you very much for your time. I think the group's, you guys ready to go out, or anybody want to ask her any more questions?
Before we leave then, do you happen to have any books or writings that I might borrow or buy?
I I don't really have anything for you here. My apologies. This is not an educated land. I believe what I have might be beyond your powers.
Oh, no worries. It was a shot in the dark, anyways. But thank you.
Just to throw it out there mechanically, as a wizard, you're going to actually have to go on like quests for things. Especially inside of Phandalin, there's not really sources of magical goods here. There's no specific wizard who makes themselves at home in this area, and there's not really anything like enchanted magical item-wise, nor is there anything like scrolls or anything that you can find. That's purely stuff that will get generated as you all quest and essentially like accomplish things. It is the type of thing that you can certainly try to convince the group to go forward with quests in a specific direction, but by and large what you're going to find will be the random stuff that is essentially lost and forgotten to time.
Okay, but just to be clear, this time I wasn't actually asking for any magical stuff. I'm literally just looking for any kind of books to read.
Yeah, literally Gariel has a book, as other people have sort of alluded to. It is not the type of thing, despite her intuition about you all, it is not the type of thing that she would have spoken about, other than saying that her powers are beyond you, in that she recognizes that, and you can recognize in her that while she likely has magical powers, hers is a divine power, whereas yours is clearly a power of knowledge. And that's kind of what she already saw in you. And do a insight check for me, Edrin. And you can gather a little bit from the vagueness that Edrin or Adabra likely has a different sort of magic than you as well.
Well, okay then.
Be safe in your ventures. We look forward to seeing what good you bring to this land.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Very well. I guess I would say as we're stepping off, I guess when we approach this lady's windmill, that we obviously do like where they were staying. Not have anything drawn, or I don't know, maybe even have our hands up or something like that, just to show that we're not there to rob her or something.
That sounds right. I'll try not to look so intimidating. First level fighter that I am.
So you all have, it's a pretty short walk down into the area of the windmill as you all follow the actual road here. You do quickly realize as you kind of come out of the woods, you're like walking downhill southwest out of Phandalin, and you're essentially walking down out of this hilly section that's like dropping out of the mountains that are now behind you all, and this is like just like one arm of this damn, I can't believe I just forgot the name of the mountain range.
Is it the Sword Mountains we're still in?
Yeah, I feel like it's the Sword Mountains at that point. Yeah. So you are essentially like walking southwest out of Phandalin, and this area in particular leaves most of the mountain range behind you at this point as you're walking like southwest out of town, and you kind of like walk through and into a little bit of a like wooded forest area, and then very quickly you start to see the land kind of start to arch back up as it's climbing. Pretty clearly you've kind of walked like through a little bit of a valley that separates Phandalin. As you progress uphill, it gets pretty steep at different areas, and then as the trees kind of open up before you, you very quickly see signs of the windmill itself, and around the windmill there is a massive creature that is nearly the size of the windmill itself. This creature seems to be. It's four-legged, very large, almost bat-like wings. They don't seem to be furred like the rest of its body, and it has just a massive mane of fur around its large head. And as you kind of watch it for a moment as you're coming through the trees, the creature seems to have a tail that's almost as long as its body, that ends in almost like porcupine-like spikes that protrude from the end of the tail.
Okay, fuck that. Let's just go ahead and nope.
Just maybe we back away.
Yeah, let's
Stealth roll, please.
That's not worth 50 silver pieces. And as Tyrell says that, I'm just gonna turn and walk away.
Yep, that was definitely a nice little twist of the dice.
Given the fact that she's a conjurer, she probably knows how to take care of herself. So if she is in trouble, it may be if she can't handle it herself, it might be something that we can deal with at this point.
Well, maybe we can assess the scene. I mean, we did just walk up, so I mean, maybe we might want to get a little bit closer just to see if we see her, or I don't know. Maybe she just conjured this thing and maybe she has control of it. I have no idea. I don't have any idea or know anything about magic.
I would
Brock,
suggest. Sorry, go
Brock
ahead.
doesn't really want to know anything about magic. Maybe Edrin knows something about it.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I can do like an Arcana check maybe to see if it's magical in nature more than like so if it's a summon creature or instead of a regular natural creature.
Let me have a group perception check, and then, depending on how things go, we can see what else you all might be able to look for from this range.
Well, I obviously just dropped my glasses and went blind there for a moment.
Yeah, it's a group check, though, so it's an average of everything.
And Justin sees all.
So you all are pretty quickly able to identify this as a manticore. From this distance, you can't really make out too much necessarily about the nature of this creature on that level. If you are to approach any closer, it becomes entirely possible that you can identify more details about it, whether it is a conjuration or whatnot. That is purely up to you all. But at present, you are still a ways away from the actual location. This is just kind of the first time you've spotted the windmill atop this little kind of spire of the mountain itself. And along this view, you see this creature seems to not be maybe not like a danger per se to the windmill so much as it seems to be making its presence and perhaps marking its domain.
So it's pissing on the windmill.
Well, not in particular marking on that level, but yes.
No, I was just messing around. Okay. So it doesn't look like it's attacking or doing anything. Just standing there.
Yeah, we'll go for that for now. From the distance that you all are at, it doesn't seem to be a threat at present for the windmill. But again, it is about half the size of the windmill itself. So if it were attacking the windmill, it would have to almost knock down the actual walls in order to be a threat to the windmill. It's not the type of creature that it can just get inside at will. It is a large creature.
I feel like someone would have mentioned if she had a pet manticore.
I think that's a pretty safe assumption for you to have.
Yeah.
My suggestion is we might want to head back for now.
Oh, well, we could, maybe get just a little bit closer. and see. Maybe we can see if she's in there. Get close enough, maybe see, looking through the windows and see if she's there. And we see if she's there, we can just leave. There you go. We're done. Boom, boom.
Brant's not doing that. That thing's 10 feet tall. I'm not going over there.
Yeah, Edrons is also staying very far away from that.
Does anybody want to approach any closer?
I guess that's I guess nobody's doing it, so we're just gonna walk away.
Alright, let's
I'm
go
gonna
fight some
throw it out
goblins.
there.
They're much smaller.
Yeah, I'm
They're
gonna
half the
throw it
size
out
of
there.
this
As far as things go, again, there are quests that you guys are able to get that you are not meant to actually pursue. A manticore or goblins? Go for the goblins. There's a reason that you got the goblins before Phandalin.
Yeah, I'm all for goblins. They're little and they
Mhm.
wrecked us.
Yep. Yep. Well, we can always come back. We can come back, right? We can totally come back. All right, let's go.
It's usually a
Totally
pretty
fine,
good
we can come
idea that if something can fly, you probably don't want to fight it at the lowest of levels.
This seems like good advice. So should we go back to town? Stealthily and carefully and quietly?
Seems like a plan.
Yeah, you're at least like a quarter mile off when you would have spotted that, so again, you would have had to explicitly gone closer for it to have a chance to really pay attention to you beyond what is clearly its attention is focused on this hilltop. So you all are most welcome to walk back to town. Do you have anything that you want to accomplish in town, or are you kind of just walking straight through?
Well, seeing as Gariel was somewhat, what's the word? Friendly with Adabara, maybe we should tell her at least that there's a manticore by the windmill.
Yeah, she might be able to deal with it. Let's go tell her that.
So you could go visit her again, find her inside of the temple, and how would you like to share this information with her?
Well, we could just be straightforward and tell her, like, there's a manticore by the windmill. Has that always been there?
I don't believe anybody's seen a manticore this far outside of the mountains for quite some time. That is truly troubling information. If it's come this far out of the rocks, something would have had to have brought it or chased it here. Adabra may be in far greater danger than just forgetting to come in for stores. I don't know what we could possibly do here to help her. If you are able to help her, and she like steps away for a few moments. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. I have a few potions that perhaps I could give you to save her. I fear a manticore is a great danger to everyone involved, but if you are able to help Adabra and save her, I have a few potions that I've gotten from her in these past times that perhaps would be a just reward for a battle with a manticore. But it is quite frightening nonetheless. If you can help her, please do. And come back and see me once you get her. Please try to bring her back to the town. If there are manticores here and out of the mountains, I fear she should not be staying on her own ever. It's staying on her own. It's likely not safe anymore. A manticore. And she kind of like kneels back down into prayer as she kind of like loses focus, and you just kind of hear like a muttering as she is essentially voicing those same thoughts, where she's like almost repeating this. You can hear her basically repeat Manticore out of the mumblings every few words out of her mouth.
I think even with the potions, we wouldn't really fare too well against that thing.
Not at level
Might be on
1.
her own for a little while.
Yeah, we'll
I mean,
get
maybe.
to it.
Oh, sorry.
Just maybe not today.
Maybe we can talk to those people in the Lion Shield cluster, see if they might be able to do something.
It's probably not
I
anywhere.
think they're more merchants than.
Yeah.
They weren't big fans
Oh,
of
right.
us
Sorry.
either,
Who
so
was the people? Let's see. Sorry.
And I
You
think
can
the
tell
town
that-
masters are enough to worry about. We don't need to tell them there's a manticore a few miles south of this town.
Yeah, no, I think he'd probably have a heart attack and die on the spot if we did that.
Let's go hunt some goblins.
Was there actually anything for the goblins, or is it the orcs?
No, there's no bounty on the goblins. I just am offended by the goblins because they put an arrow in my arm and made me look foolish when I was stealthing around in the woods.
That's fair. That's fair.
And they smell bad.
How much time do we have left before Gundren comes back?
You guys would probably be like early afternoon at this point.
And the goblins are about an hour north of town.
Your encounter with them was probably 2 or so hours away from there.
Okay.
I think you were like a little over or a little under a day's travel away when you had met the kobolds, and you would have been kind of ambushed like halfway through that day. So yeah, I think probably about 2.5 or so hours of a walk out of Phandalin to like regain their trail.
So if we head back to the ambush site, we're going to be spending the night in the woods.
Oh, that's a pretty safe assumption, I would say.
I don't know if we want to risk missing our meeting with Gundren. Elmo's not going anywhere before tomorrow.
Going after the orcs may be faster thing to get to.
Alright, mechanically, as a suggestion to new players, the goblins is your quest as level 1 characters.
Yeah, I feel orcs would be a bit too much for us right now.
Yeah, orcs are definitely tougher than goblins.
Yeah, a single orc would be a really good fight for like all of you. There's a vast difference between fighting a orc and a goblin. And a orc can, I'm pretty sure, knock down any single one of you in a single hit. Let alone the fact that a goblin could nearly do it as well.
Well, damn. Okay. So
Let's go to the orchard and see the guy everybody's talking about over there, and then we'll see Gundren, and then tomorrow morning we can go get some orcs.
Sounds like a plan.
all right.
Plus, I can learn about mead, because I don't know a lot about that.
Yeah, so you guys are welcome to head over. Gundren had mentioned his name was Darren Edermath. I believe you didn't actually get his name and I almost said it. The Stonehills had mentioned that they get the mead from Darren Edermath. And the orchard is just a little bit west of the shrine and just beyond the town green. So you can head over there and investigate the area. Depending on how you want to walk through the town itself, the most direct route would be kind of like up the town green, which is just a little hill that's like a soft rolling hill, pretty familiar of those like kind of all around this area. And then down into a little bit of a valley, there's a nice little bit of an orchard, a bunch of different apple trees, and the closer you get to it, there's a little bit of a hum of bees and the different midsummer, the different flowers, kind of there's a nice little scent to the air as you approach, and the pollen is just like a rich smell, almost like an incense around his whole area as you approach. But you see a smaller home that seems to have like a larger sheltered area around the back, almost as if like the living quarters were a very minor note to the idea of protecting essentially like something from the rain, that the roof is more important than the walls. But as you all approach around the area, you see this is probably one of the few homes that isn't really built upon the flagstone of most of Phandalin. It's a fully like wooden house built up in this area, and the trees themselves are a little bit more well taken care of than those that you've seen along the different paths. And the hum of the bees grows stronger as you approach the house, where you eventually see a pretty large man, probably almost entirely white hair. He's clearly an older gentleman, and he seems to have a stocky build nearing 5'10" or so, and he still has a very like muscular body. Clearly somebody who is constantly working hard, if not belying some other past profession in his younger days. But a very sizable fellow as you approach. What would you all like to say?
Hello. How are you doing?
Faring well. How about yourselves? Ah. What can I do for you?
Apologies for the intrusion. For myself, I just had to see the place where that wonderful meat from the inn comes from.
Yes, yes. We do quite a good job producing the mead for Tarbin. Oh man, fuck! I just fucked up his name right there. Toblin. What can I do for you? Why are you all here? You'll get nothing from me. It's as I've always said.
I'm afraid you may have the wrong impression. We're just newly arrived travelers in town. We mean no trouble.
No trouble indeed. What sort of travels are you on? What are you here for, if you mean no trouble to this town?
Well, we were on the road and we happened to run into a gentleman bringing some supplies into town, and given that we were headed the same way, we decided to help him get into town safely. And now that we're here, we just thought we might spend a few days exploring the place, getting a sense of the town.
Kind of like looks across the four of you. I don't recognize any of you. This fellow that you met, did he himself make it to town, or did some accident befall him?
No, he got into town as well. It was Gundren, well, Gundren, who hired us. So
Interesting. Make a just give me a just a straight charisma check. Intriguing. Well, a friend of Gundren is a friend of mine. What can I help you with? And you see as like he kind of like, you can see the muscles in his back and his shoulders kind of relax as he kind of like kind of bends back over and pulls like a part of the beehive out, like removing like a section of the hive to look at the honeycomb, but clearly relaxing and getting back to what he was doing, but still essentially maintaining the conversation. Are you interested in the orchards? Do you care for a bushel of apples? Would you like some honey? Are you what might I do for you all?
well, to be fair, I am curious about something. You are not the first in town to tell us that you have nothing for us to take. And I'm wondering, is it usual for strangers to take things from you in this town?
Well, the call them what they are. They're bandits. The bandits don't hesitate to take what they would like to, and there's a flow of those who are always a new face here. They're not much to look at. They've not got much discipline about them, and they usually travel in groups of 3 and 4, so I must admit, anybody who walks around with weapons and in groups, you're always going to seem like you're one of them. As long as you have an unfamiliar face, you just seem to be another of the brigands. But I meant no mistake. It's just one of the pressures that those of us who live outside of the protection of lords and nobles, we often suffer for those who would take from people they fashion as below them.
These bandits, does anyone know where they're coming from? Or yeah.
Well, I don't believe anybody will know where they are coming from. Perhaps we know that they pretty consistently spend their time drinking in the sleeping giant, but they just seem to be a plague on our little city. I feel like some of the first of this area started to settle the town proper again. It's been a few years now, but they've been a recent addition. Once there was enough established people of this town of Phandalin, they've made their point to be to take what little surplus we are able to produce.
How organized are these bandits? Are there 3 or 4, or are there 40 or 50?
They walk around in groups of 3 to 4. I've never seen what I would say is all of them, but at any given night, the sleeping giant is probably 10 to 15 of them inside of there. I assume wherever they do make their beds, there are many more than that. They are not to be trifled with. I fear this town is likely incapable of dealing with them, even if the bastard Harbin was better at being much of anything. I fear they would be a plague regardless of the choices that we've made. The moment we were on their map, I believe we were doomed to feel the pressure of their boot.
Well, thanks for filling us in. It's been hard to get the lay of the land.
The Sleeping Giant, is that another inn in town?
It's not an inn, it's the actual tavern. Most of the locals won't drink there since the Red Brands have come to town. But, it's just beyond. If you follow the eastern trail up towards the old ruined manor, it's one of the last little shacks along the way. You can't really miss the commotion of the ruffians themselves, but again, I would not go looking for trouble with these folk. They would take great joy in making both you as well as the town folk themselves suffer for it, but you won't have to look far when you search for them. They don't much hide themselves with their drink.
Oh, well, we can go in there take a look. I mean, they're not gonna know what we're doing there. They might even try to recruit us since we kind of look like them. You know, they're like just random travelers, armed.
Maybe we should like look in the window first.
Oh yeah, I mean,
If, as a friend of Gundren, please heed this with caution. If you go looking for trouble, you are likely to find it. They are not lightly a plague upon this place. I feel like I saw one of you has perception or damn fucking words. Proficiency in history, and nobody has proficiency in religion. Can I get a history check?
Okay, let's see.
Along his leather, there is a embossed portion that shows the fist of a gauntlet. I want to say with the pointed outward, but it is clearly the symbol of Torm, a deity protector of like the downtrodden. And in particular, it is a sign of a order of protectors. He takes a moment to discuss with you all that about the only reason he is able to tell you about these people is because he doesn't have to fear them. And you can pretty quickly gather that this is an old and retired adventurer, if not a hero of a bygone era. And again, I'm going to throw it out there. All of the quests that you all have picked up in Phandalin are not to be taken as a level 1 character. You guys can go looking after the red brands, but going looking after the red brands can be enough that you all will get into some serious shit.
Okay, so focus on the goblins. Do other
Yes,
things later.
still, the goblins are your quest. Pretty much everybody inside of Phandalin is giving you other options to go forward with. But in particular, again, for new players, action economy pretty much dictates that at 1-to-1 actions, it's an even fight. If there is ever actions beyond an equality, it will almost always go to the side that has more actions. So it doesn't matter how many low-level creatures, or rather that something is like a low-level creature or a high-level creature, usually having more actions is enough that that side is going to win a fight. So when I say that there are 10 to 15 of them in that inn or in that tavern at any time, that is telling you that they have a 2 to 3 times odds of winning any single fight. And it scales beyond just like the 2 to 3 times action economy. Because of how action economy wins, it's likely the type of thing where essentially you guys can get wiped out in a single round of combat trying to go into a place like that. It's just dangerous to have odds out of your favor.
Let's also not forget we lost our healer for now. So
That is definitely another part of it as well, that pretty much anybody who goes down is down for the count.
well, shit. Okay, so we can't go after the goblins because it'll be nightfall. When we get, well, after we're done with them, it'll be nightfall. So, yeah.
Yeah, let's do that first thing in the morning, and we'll see Gundren tonight, or Gundren. Is there an N in his name? I can't figure it out.
Again, I don't really think it matters how you guys interpret names. The fact that you are repeating what you've heard, I think fits how storylines actually work. That you are hearing names spoken, not seeing name tags. But it is Gun, Gundren, Gundren.
Thanks. Does anyone know where to find him? I didn't really catch that we had a meeting, just that he would be back around after dark.
yeah, he went to go see his see if he could find his brothers, and said he'd meet us at dusk at the Stonehill.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to hold you guys back from going to do things by having Gundren step away. So by and large, I feel like the choice to go see Darren Edermath was kind of the point where you were likely not to step into an actual combat this session, just because it was just another one of the people to speak with. I don't necessarily have Gundren's return currently planned. I can certainly make something happen here, but essentially, again, like your general quest heading is still towards the goblins. If you guys want to wait in town for him, I think it would be best to just kind of leave it at that idea. We can kind of progress forward a little bit if you guys want to roleplay little things. I feel like it's about at the point where you guys have enough information that you'd be able to spot the red brands walking around the town as if you were to like progress back to Stonehill. But by and large, most of what is presented before you in Phandalin is pretty well accomplished. You've met a good many of the different folk who there are to meet. And again, you've got enough information where walking around too much might be enough where you're going to spot trouble, in that you now know who the red brands are and also know that they've probably seen you guys already. So yeah, just let me know like what you might want to do, but I am probably not going to reintroduce Gundren this evening. It would probably be next session, depending on how things kind of play out.
I mean, it wouldn't be too bad for us to miss that meeting, right? Or would it be, you know?
Well, also, I guess if we're headed north out of town, and that's the way Gundren went looking for his brothers, then we might just catch him on his way back anyway.
Well, he basically told you all that it would take him until the next evening to get back. It was not necessarily scheduling a meeting with Gundren. It was just him saying that he was going to travel for most of the night to get to where he expected to find his brothers, and then he would likely be sleeping through the day. And then again, you've really only seen humans in this settlement, and he's always kind of sat beneath a cloak of shadows. He's not really explicitly going around this place as a dwarf. He pretty well hides his presence, and that's part of why he kind of travels by cover of night, using his ability to see without using a torch to announce his presence.
All right, then I guess we can just go. You can go take care of this goblin thing. I guess. I don't know.
So it's still early afternoon. If you all wanted to progress through and head back out of town and go after the goblins, that is certainly on the table.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
So it would be like a mid to late afternoon, where you guys would kind of pick up on the trail out of Phandalin towards the Tribor, where the goblins had set the ambush before. And you guys can try to pick up the trail with a survival check. Does anybody have proficiency?
No.
Nope.
Can I use my investigation proficiency?
Investigation ends up being a little bit different of a twist. You guys had enough to kind of pick up the general trail. It's going to be a good bit of a delay with that low of a roll, but you're able to progress forward very slowly. The goblins seem to have done a pretty good job to cover their tracks, but you are able to follow off of the trail in the direction that the goblins had fled the day before. So if you all are following Yastin forward into this, it'd probably be about at dusk that you would actually pick up the trail, where you really start to see signs of the goblins and very light footprints in the grass, as this is like predominantly it's still in a stone area. guys can kind of follow it, but you have to go pretty slow here. Let me get a perception check from you, Yeston. As you guys are moving forward, and you're watching, let's see, he's got it. Who else has a perception? I feel like there's multiple perception proficiencies.
I do too.
I do as well.
Yeah, it looks like everybody but Bront. Yeah. Let me have... Yes, and roll one more perception. We'll give you this advantage as they can essentially help you as you progress forward. Excellent.
There we go. Yeah, there we go.
Well, 12 was pretty, or 10 was pretty well good enough to accomplish this, because you all already know that they are trapping the trail, but as you are following the trail, you do start to spot signs, further signs of the actual goblin trail, and along that, you also are able to spot that they have traps set along this little path, as you progress out. But with the help of the others watching while you are tracking, you're able to avoid what seems to be a pit trap set along this little trail as it kind of goes between a little like, it's almost like progressing through a large boulder that seems to be like split in half with time, and it's clearly like a choke point, and as you kind of pass through it, before you actually go through, you stop at the last moment, seeing signs of this trap set up between the rock faces, and you kind of like walk everybody around the actual area and pick up along the other side of it back onto the trail itself. And let me have another survival check from you, Yeston. The signs of the goblins are much easier to follow beyond this point, as the goblins seem to be kind of giving up on the idea of how much they need to hide their presence. And you are walking closer and closer into the actual like steeper rock faces of the mountains themselves. And as you progress forward, the signs start to split up as the goblins are no longer apparently walking one behind the other. They kind of seem to spread out, but there are signs that you are indeed tracking the goblins. And let me have one more perception check with advantage. So yeah, you end up spotting another trap along the way, and are able to kind of usher everybody around, as this time there seems to be a tripwire across the trail, and it's set up in a way that there's like a tree that has been kind of bent back into a spring-loaded position, and there are spikes basically pointed out of this tree that had you actually cross the tripwire and knocked it loose, it would have released this spring-loaded branch and basically swung this thing into anybody walking along the trail and slammed them with these spikes. And you guys are able to pass forward through that. Let me have one more survival check.
Nice job, Yastin.
Thank you.
So you quickly reestablish yourself onto the trail, and you guys are able to progress forward as you approach closer and closer to not quite like sheer faces of the mountain itself, but you are approaching a pretty clear sign of the more proper mountains, not just foothills from like an ancient part of the range, but a fresher area where things are certainly a little bit more sheer. And as you all get closer and closer, you start to hear signs of conversation. I believe from last time nobody had Goblin among their languages. Does Tyrell have Goblinoid? No.
I do not.
So as you all progress forward, you pretty clearly hear a little bit of conversation before you. Let me have a group stealth check, which would include potentially disadvantage for some folk.
Damn.
But not for me.
Oh.
Oh no,
okay.
it might have only been Bron or Bowden. I think Bowden was the only one in heavy armor.
Yeah, I got breastplate. Yeah.
As you approach, you come up on a little bit of a stream that is kind of coming out of this area of the mountains. You still hear a little bit of goblin being spoken into the sound of the stream itself, kind of babbling along. While it almost covers their voices, there's still enough to understand that there appears to be someone pretty close to you here, though at present you can't really see anything. You're on the west side of this little bit of stream that is flowing south out of this actual bit of the mountain, and you have trees on the opposite side of the stream itself, and there's a little bit of trees that are starting to reach out of kind of the western arm of this mountain, and you are in a little bit of a clearing. As you approach a little bit closer, heading a little bit further north, you are able to start to spot the first signs that there appears to be a crack into the mountain itself. What would you all like to do?
We should have one person try and sneak across and get a better look.
I think that should be Bront. I'm willing to do that. Stealth and try to locate wherever the voice is coming from.
So we're in a clearing, right? So is there anywhere around we can sort of keep an eye on things while sort of getting any sort of cover to cover Bront's approach?
The clearing essentially leads up to this opening in the actual cliff face on the west side of the stream, and then the trees seem to continue up to the cliff face and along the east side of the stream. So you pretty much are in the open if you approach forward at all.
What do you guys think?
Bront wants to go stealthily through the woods to the east and kind of move around the clearing.
I was gonna say I was gonna kind of follow close behind him. Well, not too close behind him, but a good distance behind him. Just follow him, just in case he gets spotted. I can run to help him.
So at present, Edrin and Yastin would be holding back, and Bront and Tyrell would be moving forward.
I mean, I'm probably stealthier than Tyrell. If I don't know if you want to.
Switch it up.
I'm just wondering if that might be. I know it could have someone who can watch his back, but if we're trying to be stealthy, we might want to have. Yeah, maybe I don't know if you want to switch it up and have you hang back with Edrin.
Yeah, I can do that. That sounds good. Makes a lot more sense. You look a lot more stealthy than I am.
All right, so maybe I'll go with Bront. Try and around to the east using the through the woods.
So you all should have a view here of what can be seen as you progress through this little bit of a clearing. The woods to the north of you. Actually, you know what? It is close to the end of day. I'm not sure if I have daylight set at present. Yeah, it's still got daylight, so you are approaching the point where you have light still, but the light is going to be lost pretty shortly here as well. But I believe at present you can see what you should be able to see.
Well, my stuff hasn't loaded in yet, but
You guys should be... Yeah, you should be currently in the lower left portion of the map, the southwest of the map.
Yeah, I'm loaded in and I can see everything I should see now, so.
About the only thing that should matter is if it's all black. I may have forgot to set vision for you for dynamic lighting, but otherwise everything should be set at present. Should be able to see
it's all black for me. So I don't know if it's me not loading or I don't know.
Nope, didn't have vision
on the map, so you could see we're in the bottom corner of what's mostly a big black map.
Yeah, I zoomed out. No, I can see it now.
Yeah, I didn't have vision set for your character yet.
I got you. There we go. Cool. Okay.
So again, you've got the stream to the east of you, a little line of trees that pretty much leads up to the cliff face. There's some trees to the north and west of you, and then the clearing is this west side of the river. You can attempt
how wide
to...
is the stream?
it's about 5 to 8 feet at any given point. But the trees lead up to it at any point. If you try to cross over, you are just going to be like kind of blocked off into the water at present. There doesn't really seem to be a way for you to cross and then get to land over there.
So the trees are impenetrable.
You could probably find a way to manage yourself into the trees, but they surely don't look inviting.
Feels like an ambush, boys.
Yeah, I guess we just go. Let's go straight up against this kind of like the cave wall up here with these trees kind of in front of us. We kind of just stick together and move up.
Maybe I don't know. Do you want to see if one stealthy person can get up there and without being seen, possibly, and see if they can get a better view?
Let me have a group perception check.
That wasn't too good.
You can still hear voices as you approach this area, but at this point the stream seems to be displacing whether you are hearing things that are coming from inside of the cave or whether you are hearing things that are outside.
What do you guys think about picking this up here next time? Because it's almost 7. I got a hard stop.
Oh yeah, we're approaching that pretty much regardless.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this seems like a decent, stopping point for now.
Mm. Yep, I agree.
Should we
Yeah, I'm
back
fine with
off and find a place to camp and then hit this in the morning, or should we come back to the session at 6 o'clock at night next time?
For what it's worth, I would say we are stopping right here. If you guys want to discuss across the week, if you want to progress from here and move forward, or progress from here and step back to approach it in the next morning, I think that's a pretty good topic for you guys to discuss as a group inside of Discord. And with that as well, I believe we will have no Christopher next week. So it is a question also of whether this group wants to try to progress.
Actually, next week I am actually free Sunday.
Alright, excellent.
That's awesome.
So as well, I guess it's still a long-standing option of whether we want to schedule the next week or the next session on the fly like that. And we can just kind of go based on how many people should be available and whatnot. As well, it's just going to be the holiday season, so that's going to create some wrenches thrown into the mix. But at present, we will stop here and plan to move forward next week at 3 p.m. EST.
Thanks, guys. That's a good one. Sorry
Alright,
to like
sounds good.
come together.
Pretty cool. Sounds cool.
Yeah, so
Awesome
there's
time.
there's different points where things are very like roleplay heavy and like exposition heavy like this. This is part of why I wanted to delay last week when Christopher couldn't make it, because of how much information is given as you enter Phandalin for the first time. And I saw at least some of your notes, which will be great going forward. I think there is also a lot to be said on truncating your notes. I definitely just reloaded something. In truncating your notes, so you actually have an idea of like essentially the quests and the options ahead of you all, like choices like that. But you guys picked up on a good chunk, if not everything, that Phandalin has to offer for you at this point. And in particular, I hope it wasn't distracting that I said Gundren would come back, because I didn't mean for it to be a reason for you guys not to leave town. But I also didn't mean for it to be a reason for you all to just leave town. I wanted to have that like question kind of progressing forward of that mystery of what he might be up to.
No, that makes sense.
It was good. I mean, I think we were gonna search around regardless. I think we were gonna, yeah. I don't think that was it didn't mess up anything at all.
I feel oriented now.
Yep.
Oh yeah, and you guys did a good job picking up on a lot of different tracks to follow. I'm not sure how many people actually described the other the other options, the other campaigns that I have. But one of the other campaigns that I had, they went immediately after the red brands and basically got themselves into a terrible mix, and that's why they are completely off the rails in that they are playing a super different campaign, because they essentially got a bunch of the locals slaughtered by going after the red brands as level 1s and pretty much getting owned. So that was why I thought it was funny how putting them on a gray area, it had you all attracted, like, oh, maybe we should go back there and just try to check it out. What could possibly go wrong? A lot can go wrong.
Wow, seriously, I was just gonna go in there and act like I was maybe like one of them, but yeah, I don't think that would have worked out at all.
Oh,
Like
it's an
you're
option.
saying.
It's just high stakes. It's one of those things where people who are not a part of a gang can mistake you for the gang, but it's really easy for the gang itself to immediately notice that you don't belong and you're still in hot shit. So it's just one of those things where it's high stakes. And that's part of where I don't ever want to tell you explicitly, but also in a beginner campaign on essentially the second session, I do want to leave some more explicit clues that essentially it's like a tree. It's ever branching options on your choices. Some choices that you make are just more dangerous. Like there are potentials for you all to encounter a Manticore as level 1s, but it doesn't mean that any single person can't be one shot permanently killed by a Manticore either.
Yeah, no manticores
Yeah,
yet.
that was a hard pass.
All right, guys, that was fun. I guess we'll see you on Discord this week. We'll make a plan.
Everybody have a great night. Be well. Thanks y'all for coming, and hopefully I will have the difficulty of twisting a player or two into the this little adventure right here as you all attempt to meet some goblins.
All right,
Thanks a lot.
see ya.
All right, thanks everyone.
Bye, guys.
Yeah, thanks for a great night, everyone. See you.